So we're revisiting this because I got a lot of comments. People wanted to know more. They wanted to know more.
Cool.
Like
That's great.
because almost every almost every comment was about, "Hey, could you get some info, more information out of him?" Or like, uh, I'm gonna touch base on some of the topics that we discussed, but I, I guess they want some more detail out of you.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy to hear that.
Whole life is a drag, deadly like a plague. If sadness lurks within your walls like in mine, where I am confined to my room to hide from all of the bullshit gotta deal with from
What inspired the songs that stuck out to you the most?
Are you talking about Mad Conductor or No Cash?
They no cash. They want to know because
Okay.
there was a lot of anger back then, and like it was
Yeah,
mainly
it's
towards the just authority, uh, anger with your parents. So like what
yeah, anger with
songs?
everything.
Yeah, what songs stuck out to you the most from that era, and what inspired those particular songs?
It's tough to say because it's so long ago for one, and two, like trying to get into the mind of my teenage self. It's like teenagers are known for just kind of erratic thinking and maybe hastiness with the words they choose. So it's funny that like those songs are living on, and I kind of like if my life is me driving down the highway, like when you got a long ride and there are other cars on the highway, like kind of nearby you, and they're sort of like your travel mates for that stretch of the journey. It's like I've got all these other cars around me in the other lane, sometimes passing me, sometimes I'm passing them, and it's like, oh, there goes life sucks. There goes home life is a drag. There, you know what I mean? And maybe they go by so fast or they're so far in the rearview mirror, I can't really see them too well, but I know they're there. Um, when I look back, sometimes I question, was I being dramatic, overly dramatic? For certainly being dramatic. Did I have a right to be so dramatic? Maybe. I think like uh every life, wherever you're from, you're going to have problems that you face, and it's all about your perspective of like if you want those issues to be the focal point of your concentration, or if they're sort of just challenges that you work around to get to where you're going. And I think when I transitioned into Mad Conductor, I was getting much better at not making those things that bothered me or that I felt like were weighing me down do so. I was able to sort of overcome them and pursue songwriting that was more enjoyable for me. Whereas maybe when I was younger, I was taking all my problems or everything that bothered me and making it the center point of the song. I may have mentioned this in the previous interview, but I heard an interview with Jesse Michaels from Operation Ivy, and he was saying something that I always felt about my lyrics in No Cash, where a lot of the political stuff in Operation Ivy and in No Cash, coincidentally, he said was he's talking about Operation Ivy, not No Cash, obviously, but he said a lot of the political lyrics were metaphors for how he was feeling emotionally or about the world around him, not necessarily political issues, but personal and maybe social issues, social as in interactions with people, not like society at large. But I kind of feel the same way. Like I didn't really know anything about politics or uh, global affairs. I maybe pretended to and talked out of my ass a lot as a kid, but I think I was using it all as a metaphor for my own personal struggle and trying to become the man that I wanted to be, which, you know, I think I got closer to with Mad Conductor. And then, but then it comes full circle. Then you realize, oh, I never really knew shit, and I still don't. And then you maybe kind of become at peace with that. Sorry, I don't know if that really answered the question. It's tough to get into specifics, I guess, without the actual lyric. Like, if you've got a line, like, what does this line mean? Maybe I could like look at it and be like, all right, now I remember what I was thinking.
One of the questions that popped up on my thing was the crack rock steady scene. You really were a part of that with No Cash. Did you actually know any of the members of the Choking Victim or Leftover Crack that inspired the scene? Like, were you buddies with them? How was your relationship with that particular?
Yeah, from what I remember, No Cash was first, and those guys totally ripped off our sound. Fuck them.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Okay, so somebody brought up that there was the only other interview I found on the line with you about No Cash. You were talking about you were writing lyrics for the second album that wasn't gonna be so angry. Did those end up being lyrics to the first Mad Conductor? Is that what happened, or do you got like a stash of hidden No Cash songs that no one knows about?
Maybe a line or two made it into Mad Conductor, but a lot of that stuff unfortunately was lost. And I wish that we would have been like making more demos toward the end of our time as a band, No Cash that is, because I think we were stumbling into some pretty interesting territory that probably would have disappointed a lot of fans, but maybe done a service for us to separate us from what you call the crack rock steady scene. Like, back then, that wasn't a thing. Crack rock steady wasn't a genre. It was a Choking Victim song, you know? And it always kind of annoyed me that like people so blatantly like just emulated that music like without much creative input of their own. But now I realize like that happens in all areas of music. I mean, it's just sort of how music and art and inspiration works. And I've sort of come to terms with that. Like, I excuse myself because I was so young at the time. Like, I didn't really know any better. But when No Cash was sort of coming of age, and I mean, like, our guitarist Judd was just so good, and he was just such a musical genius, and he was really pushing us forward. And you know, I was always kind of learning from him and keeping up with him, and maybe my creativity mixed with his technical prowess was allowing us to achieve new heights, maybe that were surprising to us and really everybody. But you know, it never really had the what am I trying to say here? It was maybe destined to fail, you know, just because of how we were emotionally and our maybe our immaturity at the time. Like, we weren't. It was the perfect time, and at the same time, like, just was never really gonna work. But I guess you know, I wish. I don't wish that hard. It's not like a big burning thing in my mind, but it would be cool to have those demos from the end of No Cash to hear what we were working on. I guess that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and and we were all sad that we missed out on it.
Yeah. There was one song that really ripped off Adam and His Package. Do you know the song Philadelphia by Adam and His Package?
Yeah.
It goes doo 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 doo. So the one guitar went like that on the harmonics, and then either I or Judd came in and were like, and the drums like. So maybe we were like pushing into more of like a pop realm, and maybe, I don't know, almost something that maybe could have worked as more mainstream music. Who knows what would have happened? Maybe I'd be like a fucking millionaire right now had I just stayed in the band for another month. I don't know. I got this good coffee though, so it's all good.
Yeah, shit, yeah. I'll cheers to that.
Cheers.
With my generic Walmart brand coffee. Yeah, things are a little tight. We can't afford that good shit, but coffee's coffee at this point.
Yeah, sure.
So, you still, what's the other guys in the band up to? Do you still keep in contact with them?
Yeah, like a little bit here and there, you know. Everybody's scattered. Judd is out west, up north, Pacific Northwest. Jesse, the drummer, I think, I don't want to give away too many like personal details. These guys have always been sort of kind of private. He's like down south somewhere, I think in Tennessee. The bass player Sean is still in the Lehigh Valley where I live. We see each other from time to time, not too often. Every once in a while we get like excited about an idea. You know, we did the Nazareth Nightmare Band song, and I had this idea like, dude, we should like reunite No Cash and do a Christmas album. And Judd was into it. He was like, dude, that's a great idea. But you know, it's one of those things like when you're working and, you know, trying to manage your life and everything, like, are you really going to find the time to make a Christmas album? I don't know. Like, it would be cool. I think that's why it's so much, you know, it's like the gift of the Magi. When you're young, you have time and freedom, and you're able to like have a band and just pick up and go on tour, you know, spend all weekend long in the basement practicing writing songs. But you're also like an asshole, and you're impetuous, and you fucking are hard-headed and can't get along with anybody. Then when you're older, you're chill and you can get along and you can appreciate the little things like just getting together and jamming, but you don't have any fucking time to do it or the money to pull it off, or I don't know, like, you know, some people might be listening to this and saying like, well, speak for yourself, but that's all I can do. I'm only myself.
Word. We'll all have the time when we're all fucking in retirement homes and shit.
There you go. Yeah.
Fucking
if we make it that long, if we make it there.
Old people core. It'll be a thing.
Hell yeah. I mean, why not? Look at Green Day. They don't look like they've like aged much. It's weird. Sometimes I wonder, like, man,
it's the blood of the
you look at like, you think those guys got hair plugs?
I don't know. I would have to if I was them, you know.
I mean, like, all three of those guys just have like perfect full heads of hair. Like, I don't know, man. Something fishy there.
They jumped on that Rogaine early. You know, they could have.
That's how you know Tim Armstrong is like the real punk. You know, he just got a fucking tattoo on his head of a spider web or some crazy shit instead.
So you said everyone was personal. Somebody brought up there was a lack of photo evidence of No Cash. Like, you guys don't have very many pictures. There's a couple in the liner notes, but like, you go to plug it in, that shit up and on the internet. There's very few pictures of you guys. Was that intentional?
You know, maybe in retrospect it was. I think it's kind of cool though, isn't it? Like, I kind of like that. Like because the most famous image of us is probably the cartoon drawing of us as ninjas.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's sort of fitting. It's like we always had that element to No Cash. Like, we were all big Wu-Tang fans, at least me and the drummer and I, that is to say. We always loved Wu-Tang. We saw Wu-Tang Clan in San Bernardino when Old Dirty Bastard was still alive, when we were on tour in California. And we just happened to be in LA when Wu-Tang was playing Rock the Bells Festival. And I remember, like, our guitarist was like, "Oh, you planned it that way." I'm like, "No, it's a freaking coincidence, man." But we got in there and got to see ODB before he passed away, and that was really amazing. So we always had like an affinity toward, you know, the martial art. Even though we didn't do martial arts at the time, I began studying kung fu later, but we always thought it was cool and liked that aspect. We always loved Ninja Turtles. Was like, you know, anytime we'd be chilling, you might see the original TMNT movie on, and we all knew every line. So we definitely brought that into the fold with our music, and I think that's cool. That not much, you know, leave no trace, stray from the shadows reluctantly, and I think that's how we sort of lived then, and it's a cool mark that we left.
Give us your money, if we will give you hope. And that's what I said, but when you get it, it's done. Cause you're too weak to cope. In this red, check this part. You're full of stories and took up a lot. Cover is done and let it take your mind. So you're not left behind.
Word. So if you were to write angry No Cash songs now, what would the topics be about? Obviously not about family and...
That's a good question, because probably the main problem I have with writing lyrics now is like, what the fuck do I even say? Like, you know, my life is pretty good, and I don't have that like personal angst maybe that I do, but then when I look around, I see the other problems that I would like to write about. So maybe a song about like landlords, you know, and how fucked up it is, how much they charge people and make them live in shitty situations that it's so self out of. That would be a good topic. I love Rancid, and I really love how they write about different political strifes from different points in time all around the world, like, you know, a song like Rwanda, or, you know, they sing about just different issues that maybe don't get brought up by your like run-of-the-mill punk bands. I thought about writing a song. I wrote a little essay about Comuna 13, Commune 13 in Medellin, Colombia, which is just the history of that place is amazing, amazingly inspiring. I thought that would make a cool topic for a song, something like that, you know, like just trying to like look around and maybe stop thinking about myself so much, because if you look at Mad Conductor, it's like every other line, it's like I, my, me, but that's okay, because I was in my mid-20s and just trying to figure myself out. But now I feel like I'm at a place where I'm pretty good, so maybe I can like, yeah, look outward more for inspiration. And those are just kind of two things that come to mind off the top of my head. There's probably more out there.
Word. Somebody brought up Blip Attack and No Service Project. They wanted to know more about those.
Yeah, those were our friends' bands. So, um,
So you
Blimp
had
Attack.
so you
Blimp Attack was a. Sorry, what were you saying?
so you had no personal connection with those other than your friends' bands?
Oh no, we were like thick as thieves, all of us. Yeah, for sure. The history of No Cash is like not tellable without mentioning No Service Project or Blimp Attack for sure. Like we did so many shows together and had a lot of shared a lot of experiences. Um, and also Mad Conductor toured with No Service Project a lot. Adam from No Service Project played in Mad Conductor for our first couple of years as a band. So yeah, the lines always were blurring with those groups of musicians. Blimp Attack was a band founded by two brothers, Rob and Dan Sadler, who now have two bands. Raid is one band, and Pale Fang is Dan Sadler's other band. Um, Dan Sadler played in Mad Conductor as well, played bass. Now he plays guitar in his bands. The drummer of Blimp Attack was our friend John Thorman, my childhood friend, who probably is known more by his rap moniker TJ Backwards, who rapped on Troubles in the Sewer, Mad Conductor song, and Gasoline, the No Cash song. That was me and TJ Backwards rapping. And then as Big C, Big Chris No Cash, I did some features on Blimp Attack songs. I think the song I did a verse on was called Incomplete. And with No Service Project, I did a song called Poison. And then as MC Devlin, I did another No Service Project song, a feature called Small Town Cops. Yeah, so it's really like intertwined histories for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so
Oh, and Dylan Reichel played guitar in Blimp Attack, and then went on to play guitar and keyboards in Mad Conductor. So we were all just like friends who played in bands together, you know?
word.
True fashion tears through shoes faster, blast through town right past the newscaster, cackling laughter in the face of disaster, smashing the plaster with the ways of a master. I'm the river, the reaper with the sickle and the shredder. I wish the hill was steeper and the danger level better. You never met a better veteran for setting the door. Ain't no half stepping and I never go soft.
Okay, so what to go on? The O's hat. I got so many comments about you sporting an O's hat.
Well, I'm back on the Phillies chain now. The O's hat. So look, I love Baltimore. It's a cool, rugged city, you know, and I've got deep appreciation for like rugged, gritty, hardworking cities. You know, I love that shit. My cousin Kyle lives in Baltimore, and so that's like a tip of the hat down there. How I came across that specific cap, though, I was in New Orleans, and I was skateboarding around the city on a really hot day. It was like fucking 105 degrees with humidity or something, and my old hat just was destroyed with sweat. Like it was just completely drenched. Like I'm a sweaty guy, you know, like if I'm in like a martial arts class and we're doing our warm-ups, like my gi's already drenched, you know. I'm a sweater. When I skate, like I wring my fucking shirt out at the end and have like a giant puddle. It's a good thing. It's healthy to sweat, get a good sweat going. But there was no way I could continue to wear this hat that I had ruined on this day skating around. So I stopped into one of these like, you know, like corner fashion stores. We always call them hood stores, where you could just go in and buy like Timberlands and like whatever like fly gear was popular at the time, and fitted hats, 5150s, new eras. And a lot of them were way too flashy, like too many fucking bells and whistles and random patches, or like just sort of like new school teams, maybe like Tampa Bay Devil Rays or Diamondbacks. I'm like, I'm not fucking sporting that shit. So the plainest one and like the most like old school baseball hat they had was the O's hat. And I was like, that's the one. I love that shit. So I rocked that for a while. I like the O's hat that has the cartoon bird that's wearing a hat as well. But the problem is those hats all had an orange bill. And I was like, that's where I draw the line. I can't be walking around. I'll walk around with a hat with a fucking bird on it, but I can't walk around with a hat with a bird on it and an orange bill. Like, it's just a no-go. But now I'm back on the all-black Phillies. And unfortunately, they started making the bottoms gray. And it's like it's all I see is gray. So I took a paint pen and I colored that in. It doesn't look too bad. Like a graffiti marker, you know, and really went over top of it. So that's the story of the O's hat. And it got, you know, I wear it until it gets too marked up with sweat and destroyed, and then I got to get the next cap.
Word.
But I always wore hats, man. Like, you know, as long as I can remember, always just a baseball hat guy.
Nah, I gotta have this dome free. It needs the air.
One more thing I'd like to say. I wore a Detroit Tigers hat for a long time as well. And that's another gritty, hardworking city that I got a lot of love and respect for, and got to visit there a few times on tour and always had great shows. I can't remember the name. Trumbull Theater, maybe? Is that it? In Detroit? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it was like a DIY space in Detroit, and Mad Conductor would play like gnarly shows there. I think we played there twice, and it was just always one of those wild, like, you know, when they have like a scene from a movie that's supposed to be like a punk show, and it's so crazy. Like, that's what you could have taken that, and that would have been like your scene. You know, like when Jim Carrey goes into the Cannibal Corpse concert in Ace Ventura, kind of like that. It was like that. The Detroit hat, I was on vacation in Colombia with my girlfriend. She's from Colombia, and we were visiting the coast on the Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean coast, I guess. And we were on the beach, and I had this plain black hat that I bought for the trip because I was sort of getting off of any logo. I was like, you know what? I'm done like advertising on my fucking brain. Like, I'm wearing plain black hats from now on. And we left it on the beach, and somebody swiped it when we got back to our like towels and shit. So dude, down there in Colombia, I get burnt to a fucking crisp. Like, I have to cover all of my skin when I'm down there. So not having a hat was not an option. So we went to one of those little like, you know, beachfront stores where they sell all the different, you know, like buckets the kids could play in the sand, and beach chairs, and they had some baseball hats. And again, the most like normal one that they had that didn't have like glittery patches and all these bells and whistles was a Tigers hat, but it also had a number 19 on it, which I think was for a player, maybe Adrian Sanchez. I don't know if that's right, but it had A Sanchez on the side. I wore that hat for a while, and then when that one got too beat, I was like, all right, I guess I wear Detroit hats now. So I probably had like 3 or 4 Detroit Tigers hats in a row, then got the Orioles hat, then went to a Phillies game and just like fell in love with this new lineup and this new team. And Bryce Harper, it's like my favorite player. And then I was like, dude, I got to get back on the Phillies hats because that's always really been my team. And Lehigh Valley, we're an hour north of Philly, so I'm down there all the time, and love Philly too, another gritty, hardworking city.
Word.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know, talking about hats and shit, but this is my life now. So when you ask me if I, what am I gonna write about? Nobody wants to hear a song about hats. I don't think.
But they want to hear about the hard, gritty cities.
There you go. Maybe that's how you tie the two things together. Yeah.
Word.
I roll a tone parallel to Harlem, from county jail to Arkham, expand across the planet, soft candy coating. I never rocketed the brands demoting. I rock the iron coat, I know my spinal coat, probably so, cause I'm infected with that venom symbiote. I wasn't born, I was assembled on a canvas in a lab at Mona Lisa, a mile east of Boca Vista.
Odd-timed hip-hop. Let's get into that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like you said, there's really just not enough of it, right? Are you the first odd-timed hip-hop? What kind of... How far can we stretch this thing?
You mean like how far can you stretch the time signature? I've heard of people going like 13/8, fucking 15/4. I don't know.
Well, see. I don't know how close you follow some of these prog bands, but like bands like Tool will jump time signatures within a couple measures. Like one will be a beat of 7, then followed by a beat of like 9. So it'd be like 9, 7, 9, or shit like that. If I came up with some crazy ass time signatures, would you be able to write rhymes in them?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the way that I started doing it, you like write a song, you write a rap in like 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'd be like, yo, I'm going to the store and I'm gonna buy some more and it's gonna be for sure. No one's gonna be really sore, whatever. And you would just add a fucking word somewhere in there to stretch it into the next quarter note. Yo, I'm going to the corner store and I'm gonna buy a whole lot more. And that would be 5/4. Then you got 5 quarter notes. So that's how I started doing it. And then the better you get at it, the more you're able to just like write to the measure that you want without jamming superfluous words in there to like stretch your bar.
That was nice.
Yeah, yeah. And to be honest, like the whole idea of odd time and adding beats to a measure might be superfluous. Like, is it really necessary? Is it just a flex? Is it just to show like, yo, look what I can do? But I don't know.
No.
That's a big part of rap music, like it's all about like boastfulness and yo, my style's the freshest and no one can touch it. And I maintain that to be very few rappers, especially modern day guys, who would even fucking know what to do with a beat like Yo Kid or Bat Swoops Down. They'd be completely fucking lost. Prove me wrong, please. But I think the other thing is like, well, yeah, but also no one cares. Like, it's just a few people, I think Mad Conductor toward the end, we really started making music like for musicians, like musicians appreciated it and everybody else was like, okay.
But yeah, no, it needs to be done. We need to introduce hip hop into the prog community, right? Or prog into the hip hop community, like because that's where it all.
Some people were calling Mad Conductor. Some people were calling it prog hop, and always sounded kind of goofy to me. I just wanted it to be hip hop, but the next step of it, like the next experiment, and maybe it'll catch on and become the new thing. And clearly it didn't, I don't think
yet
anybody really was too, who knows, man. I have some more songs that I'm writing, not necessarily for Mad Conductor, but maybe some ideas that I came up with during my time in Mad Conductor, songs that were in 5/4 or 6/4 that I'm like, I'm not gonna abandon these. Like these are still cool riffs that I want to try to like work on. So I'm not giving up on the idea of like playing in different time signatures, but yeah, I think to your average listener, they don't really care how many beats are in a measure. They just want it to sound good and be able to vibe to it, you know? So
Yeah.
you gotta think about that too. Like a song like Bat Swoops Down, that changes uh times throughout. You know, the chorus I think is in I don't know if the chorus is in 4/4. There are definitely some 4/4 measures in there, but it definitely is like 11/8. Bum 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 da 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 da. So that's 11. It definitely switches up, and it's pretty cool. But you got to be careful. Like, are you are you are you writing a good song? Or are you writing like is this just a puzzle for your own enjoyment? And just know what you're trying to do. It's okay to write a song without. And toward the end of Mad Conductor, or maybe not the end, MC Rise's era, I was really not thinking at all about what people would perceive of the music. I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. Toward the end, I started trying to write songs that I thought people would enjoy more, and I don't think they really did. So it's always a toss up of how it's going to go. You know, you never know.
Word, word. I liked it. I like the concept of
Oh,
pro-
thank you.
progressing hip hop more into more artistic realms. You know?
Did you see the Facebook post that I made on the Mad Conductor page? Is that why you're asking?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, because I've been thinking about it ever since you brought it up last time,
Okay.
and then they brought it up what was it, last week or just the other day? I don't know.
Yeah, it was like Friday night. I don't know, I got all worked up about it and wrote this post. And whenever I make the claim that Mad Conductor was the first hip hop band to do odd time hip hop, and I say the year, I'm always like, yo, 2009, 2010, we had our shit out. Somebody's always like, well, this one's 4 years before. Now here's, and I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't really count because of this. So anytime somebody tries to prove me wrong, I just shift the goalpost. And I shift and shift and shift, and I'll continue to do that till the day I die. And that's my right as an American.
My hope will never fade away.
Nazo Nightmare Band.
That's an Nightmare Band, yeah.
Yeah. So you discussed the origin of the name last time, but you didn't give me much more than that, and everyone wanted more information about this. How did it come about, and is there any possibility of there being any more?
For sure. I mean, anything's possible when you're stoned. um, Look, I listened back to some of the interview before we did this to just kind of make sure I didn't like repeat myself. And I realized that I mispronounced my own band name. I said Nazo Nightmare Band, but you're saying it correctly. It's Nazo Nightmare Band because Nazo is short for Nazareth, which is the town where we were from. So get that out of the way. The Nightmare Band, that's inspired by. Have you ever seen Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas?
Yeah, yeah.
So the River Bottom Nightmare Band is the band of like thugs from River Bottom who beats Emmett Otter's Jug Band in the Christmas music battle of the bands, basically.
Yeah, yeah. The Nightmare Band. Yeah.
The Nightmare Band, yeah. And I just thought that was like the fucking sickest name, you know, and
befitting for No Cash because I may have mentioned this last time, but we had a clothing sponsor called Nightmare Clothing, and they would throw us t-shirts and headbands and shit. So we'd always be rocking this gear on stage, Nightmare. And it was all black and white. And so it just, I don't know, it fit. And I wanted to put out a song, but I didn't really want to call it No Cash, because I'm like, No Cash is in the past. It's buried, it's like another a cool Christmas movie reference. I don't know if you saw Rare Exports.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Rare Exports is sick. So how they like bury the giant demonic Santa Claus under a pile of rocks and create this like mountain.
Yeah.
I kind of view No Cash the same way. Well, maybe we'll unearth it for that Christmas album. See how everything comes full circle here. And I just think that would be so great because it would probably piss so many people off if No Cash did a Christmas album. And I just think that'd be really funny. And we'd be doing all like public domain songs. So like Holly and the Ivy, Oh Holy Night, Good King Wenceslas. And I mean, these are like heavy Christian focused lyrics, and I'm like, so do I change those words? Do I like omit the parts about Christ and Christianity? Like, no, you leave that shit in there and you sing it, and that makes it even funnier, So I had kind of started talking with the guys from the band again, and Judd asked me if I had anything that I wanted to work on or send him and he could play along to. And I was like, all right, well, I had recently heard the song Halo by Beyonce, and I was probably way late to that party, but it came on the radio and I was like, wow, this is phenomenal. And I just right away heard like, this could make a great punk cover. So I was like, all right, man, if you want to do something, check this shit out. And he's like into it. And then it was his idea, like, well, why don't we get Jesse on the drums? And then Jesse's like, well, if I'm going to play, like, let's bring Sean in too, have him play the bass. And then the band was back together and we did the one song and then sort of vanished back into the shadows as we're known to do. But we've got a couple of other songs that we've talked about covering or maybe doing some originals. I won't say which songs I'd want to cover because I always get a little paranoid that if I mention it, somebody's going to do it before us. It's a secret.
Awesome.
Like legend made Nicholson look like Ramel. My style makes a pterodactyl look like a spell. Flies a violent path of a crossbow L. Piercing your bone going straight through the mouth. I come from the asylum in the bowels of the nows. A guy in a warehouse strapped to the bowels. Drinking all, grabbing holiday cows. While I'm still rocking that seasonal bulletproof apparel. Living by the plan left y'all punk stale. Whereas I'm Abbott and Bell, I'm rather rapid.
Yeah, you were thinking about starting up another podcast. What's the word behind that?
Well, I don't want to say too much about it specifically because this is something we spoke about, like just chit-chatting online for, if anybody's curious about that. But until I really launch my plans, I don't really like to speak too much about it because then if it doesn't come to fruition, I just look like a loser, So I will say this though. I think pandemic sort of like fucked me up a little bit. Like it really made me kind of re-question the way I was living my life. I spent a lot of time alone, a lot of time in my garage listening to Green Day and Rancid and skateboarding on my little half pipe that I built. And then after I started to like come back out into the world, that's just how I kind of continued to live my life. I'd go to the skate park and listen to Rancid and Green Day and skate all day and then come home and watch Seinfeld and The Simpsons and veg out and go to sleep and then repeat. And I realized, like, man, I'm just like 38 years old, but kind of living my life like a fucking 19-year-old skate rat, you know? And it was cool. It was a chill couple of years in as far as that goes. I didn't, when I was in Mad Conductor and No Cash, and or when I was running my kung fu school or doing all these things that I did before the pandemic, I'd always put these like pressures and deadlines upon myself. And I kind of need that because it made me like always go, go, go and do, do, do. And looking back on that, I was able to accomplish a lot, but maybe there was some stuff that I missed, like maybe just stopping and smelling the flowers and relaxing and enjoying life. But now I'm sort of ready to get back into that other way of living again. And I want to do more this year and embark in more. So one thing I'm doing is taking singing lessons. I just started my first class last week, and that was like a big step for me because I've always rapped or screamed. And I never really knew how to sing. And sometimes I watch like a guy singing and I'm like, man, if I could sing like that, it'd be fucking game over for everybody.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. And podcasting is always enjoyable as well, but like as you know, it's a lot of hard work for like little tangible reward. But I think I have to maybe shake that concern. Like, you know, there's a quote on the back of the kombucha bottle this month that's like, create without expectations. So I want to get better at that as well. Like just doing things for the sake of doing them again. Not thinking about like, well, what will pay the bills or what will get me to the next level. And those are valid concerns for sure. But yeah, I've got some plans to jam with a guy coming up soon, see how that goes. And yeah, maybe like still skate, maybe still veg out a little bit, still play some Super Mario World, but also maybe make some music and put some more media out there finally.
Paralelo con la corteza, como un disco volteando en la mesa. Estoy perpendicular con los sistemas solar, volar por la estrella. El hombre lobo en la nave espacial, casco de vidrio mente. Hago añicos los perímetros y los fragmentos son puentes.
Now, are we talking SNES Mario World?
I have a little emulator that my buddy traded me for some weed. And honestly, most of the games on there are fucking whack. It's got Super Mario Kart. It's got Street Fighter 2, which I like. I always play as Chun-Li because she's the Kung Fu fighter. But my favorite is Super Mario World. And I think that's probably my favorite video game of all time. Like, I really love it so much. I love the music. I love the nostalgia of it. I can really like teleport back to my best friend Scott's room in 1994 playing that shit, listening to Green Day. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it really, that game can transport you to another time, like a warp tube. So I just beat the game, you know, to 95%, like 95 levels you got to complete. And then I erase the memory and I do it again. And maybe it's a waste of time, but I notice when I'm playing Mario, I'm not worrying about anything. And I have a tendency to be a little anxious these days and maybe have some paranoid thoughts. So, but I notice when I'm playing the video game, my thoughts are like there. And it's the same with skateboarding too. That's kind of why I became so addicted to it. Like I was skating every day for like 2-3 hours. And I think those are the sorts of things that I do to combat my anxious thoughts or my paranoia. But then my knee started hurting because I was working on so many nose manuals just Ollie nose manual, Ollie nose manual, Ollie nose. And my knee was like, ah. And that's making me realize, like, well, maybe I don't have the balance in my life that I need because I'm not doing music anymore. So, yeah, it sucks being in the rehearsal space and looking out the window on a beautiful, sunny spring afternoon. And you're like, I'd really rather be out there skateboarding than in here with these fucking dirtbags trying to figure out this 7-11 time signature bullshit or whatever. But the problem is, if you skate, I don't know, maybe you'll develop sort of an injury or an ache. So if you take a day off and jam, then skate the next day and appreciate being out there even more, then you've got the balance in your life. So maybe that's part of what I'm trying to get into as well, is bring that balance into my world, and music has probably always provided that for me, and maybe I don't appreciate that as much as I should.
Ghost band, rocking the ghost jam, in the ghost band on the coast. Ghost band, rocking the ghost jam, touring in the ghost band on the coast. It was a G30 motorhome, 76. We were backing up the odometer clicks. 6 in the band, plus a roadie and a dog. Headed to another show in an ominous fog.
Word, how's your kickflip doing?
My kickflip's getting better. Like, I really, thanks for asking. We talked about that last time. I've kind of cracked the code with it, like I've been kickflipping since I was 11, and I had some bad habits of flipping off to the side too quickly. So now I'm getting better at pulling the board up, lifting my back foot, and kicking off the nose and getting that back of the board to pop up into my foot. So that's pretty cool. I did a nice one at the skate park at Riverside Park on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. There's a really nice skate park up there. And one day I was just popping these. It was a beautiful sunny day. You're right along the river, the Hudson River. And it was just one of those days where everything was clicking, and I was popping these nice kick flips. That was earlier in the fall. And then my knee started hurting a bit in the when it got darker, like around December and colder, and I kind of stopped skating, taking a break. And now my knee's better. I'm feeling great again, like one leg squats, all that shit. But I'm noticing the time off from skating, like my mental health is maybe kind of declining a bit. And I'm realizing, like, dude, you really are dependent on that exercise to stay mentally healthy as well as physically healthy. So I'm really itching to get back out there. And it's cold now, but I maybe go snowboarding next week and kind of scratch that itch, because it's important, for me and for everybody to stay active.
Word. I'm a mailman, so I'm active all the time,
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like Newman.
No, I'm a real mailman,
So you work when it rains.
Oh yeah. Like walking 16 miles carrying shit in the rain. Fun.
Wow.
But
yeah, I remember Jesse and Sean, the bassist and the drummer and bassist of No Cash, their mom was a letter carrier, a mail deliverer. And she always had really nice legs, really fit legs. I remember that being like, wow.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to her.